I bought this Jeep Wrangler TJ Sahara from the original owners with just 30,000 miles on it, it was on a frame that had more holes than Swiss cheese and more exposed cracks than a plumber. But the rest of the Jeep was in really good shape. It wasn't ready to die. So we found and painted a new frame, separated the body from the old frame by using a Harbor Freight floor jack and some wood, put the motor in the new frame, then put the body on the new frame. And then last video, we finally took it on a first drive.
It's incredible. This is nuts.
What a weight off my shoulders. Knowing this Jeep runs and drives as good as it does. It's still making the noise from one of the pulleys in the engine, but we'll sort that out when we get some parts in. But since we're mostly mechanically sorted, it's time to take care of some other cosmetics to finally finish this Jeep up. Like the door handle. We'll start on the driver's side with the die grinder to get the handle down to bare metal. Then we'll hit it with some etch primer, then some filler primer, and finally satin black. And then I start to get a little emotional.
You know, it's a bit somber, almost, as we sit here with the Jeep checking off the final, you know, it seems like it's just a handful. It's still quite a bit, but the final things on the Jeep that it needs until it's done. I mean, I've come out here and worked on this thing pretty much give or take every single day for the past 6, 7, it'll almost be 8 months. And it's hard not to get a bond with a vehicle that you're working on so much and that you've quite literally touched every bit of. But we're not quite done yet.
And after I wipe my tears away, I put on my final coat of black.
All right, and that's a wrap for tonight.
And the next day, move the Jeep to the front of the driveway, where it'll stay for its final assembly. And we are getting close. And finally, our parts arrive. Our parts that should silence our pulley problem. The AC compressor. Let's get to work. We should be getting pretty good at this. We'll open the hood, remove the fan shroud and the fan, the belt, and then the power steering pump. Next, we'll remove the AC lines, the power steering bracket, and then, after an immense amount of anger and frustration, and little cuts on my fingers, we remove the 3 bolts holding the AC compressor on, and pull it out. Piece of shit. Then we unbolt the port off the old compressor, and thread it onto our new one, before putting the pump back into the Jeep. Which is the second worst part of this job. The first being when we tried to get the compressor bolts out in the first place. Now, we gotta get them back in. But after 20 minutes of hell and interesting curse words, the compressor's back in, and now we can plug it back in. Then back on goes the power steering pump, then the belt, followed by the fan and the fan shroud. Well, that job sucked. I destroyed my phone in the process, I destroyed my tripod, I got so angry, and I got all sorts of little cuts on my hand, and then the coolant would drip into it. And it was an incredible, amazing feeling. But the pump is finally in. It's time to start this thing. I just hope it's quiet. I hope it's fixed. Moment of truth. Let's find out. And sure enough, it was finally fixed. After a day of crying with my little cut-up hands, it was time to put the old wheels on the Jeep and put it on the trailer to go for a little adventure. A little adventure to Northeast Auto Imports to see Tyler, the mechanic with the biggest head and most awkward charisma this side of the Mississippi, to refill the AC in the Jeep, who today was full of compliments.
Nice trailer.
Hey, thanks. Glad you like it.
Nice frame. Did you swap it?
Why don't you explain to us what that means?
It has pressure. But you had it all apart and you haven't charged it. That's just weird.
it's an anomaly. So what do we do now?
Well, now I have to...
How does that make sense? How does it?
It's got 50 PSI in it. Where'd that come from? You had it disconnected?
I did have it disconnected. What?
It only recovered 2 ounces.
So there was not any...
It wasn't much, but it still showed more pressure than you'd think for a system that someone frivolously left open in the atmosphere.
I did not do that.
So after a few rounds of who can have the better insult towards each other, the Jeep's tummy was filled with fresh refrigerant. While I was there, I figured I'd pick his brain about the Jeep's newfound vacuum leak and where I should start to look. And upon looking near the gas tank, as he mentioned, I made a discovery.
That one is missing. You just go right up and pop it right off.
So when I got home, I went back to the old frame once again to steal one off.
All this is a sort of vacuum leak. Hopefully. So we'll put that connector on there and see if that's the cause of our vacuum leak. Ty seems to think it is, and he's smarter than I am, unfortunately.
And
Seems a little smoother. Not that much more though.
sure enough, the light popped right back up with the same code. So I tried the stupid simple method of putting on a different gas cap from my other TJ. But the code came right back. But I'll have to come back to this issue, because another issue arose. An issue in my pants, because the new tires are done and mounted on my newly refinished wheels. And I'm dying to see them on there. I get straight to work, bolting them up to the Jeep with shiny new lug nuts. And it looks amazing. But we can gawk more when the Jeep's done. There's still work to do, like removing the old beach parking permit from the glass, which was kind of sad. And the original dealership decal, which was hard to remove. Next, we're going to clean up the engine bay, mainly the AC lines, which are looking a bit old and dull. I'm going to use a little trick I learned online, which consists of using steel wool to polish and clean up these lines. And by golly, it works great. And the next day, we move to something a bit different.
All right, so next on the list of things to do, we have the side steps, but we have a little, it's not a problem, it's a little road bump that we have to overcome, which involves me learning, which I'm not very good at. So the side steps mount just up here. You've got those 2 holes there, and then you've got those little hook things. The hooks go down here, but the bolt holes, this is a frame. There's no way to access there, and there's no nut in there, which means we have to install nut certs, which are little like rivets, but they're threaded. So you can basically, it's like putting a nut on the other side of something you can't reach, is really the easiest way to put it. So I bought this stuff from Amazon. It's a bag with a little tool that we have to figure out how to use. So basically, we have this little tool here. It's just a threaded piece basically, and then it has this big, it looks like a nut, but it's actually acts as a washer here. And then we take one of the nut certs, or riv nuts, whatever you want to call it. You thread it onto this end, just like that. And then all you do is you hold this nut while turning this one. And what that does is compresses this, basically squeezes it. You can kind of see with this one that I destroyed, right there it started to pull up. And that's basically what it does. It'll sandwich the metal, which will be the frame, right in between that little piece there. And I'm just using my mini impact because it's really hard to turn both of those wrenches in the area that we're working with. And this thing was cheap on Amazon, so I'll include a link to the ones that I'm using down in the description below.
This was, indeed, a bit of a learning process for me. And I'm slow, so it took me a bit to get the first one in. But once I got the hang of it, it took no time to get the nutserts in and to attach our side steps.
Well, that's pretty freaking cool. They're all in.
Except, either I didn't tighten them down enough, or the Amazon riv nuts are ass, because the side step fell off when I tried to test it. Then again, I weigh as much as a small city, but I ended up replacing them all with quite expensive riv nuts from Grainger. Felt good to make this progress, but the problem still loomed with that vacuum leak and why the Jeep's running so poorly. And later that night, it was time to make another trip to see our favorite awkward giant-headed mechanic. He's here by himself, so I hope I'm not walking into something. Ty's letting me use his fancy smoke machine.
Thank you, Tyler.
The perfect tool to find our forbidden vacuum leaks in the Jeep. And I don't know how to do this, so let's learn. First, we open up the evap system test port, grab the machine, and hook it up to a battery. Then we connect our compressor to it, turn it on, and it's the only time where when it starts smoking, it's working right. Next, we thread on the proper adapter for our evap test port, and then press the tip of the machine into the adapter. And with everything connected right, our evap system is now being pumped with smoke.
Just look for leaks, I guess.
Now our search begins. Find the smoke, find the leak. But
I'm not seeing anything. I looked everywhere.
so I kept searching, till suddenly,
Oh. Would you look at that? Interesting.
I guess it's true. A gas cap can really be a source of a check engine light. So I replaced the cap with a shiny new one from a company I thought at first said Shart. With the new cap on, I clear the code, start the Jeep, and for a few days, all was well. Until the light appeared again. Luckily, I'm a bad friend and still had Tyler's tool, so the Jeep gets penetrated with the smoking rubber tube once more. But this time...
But wait, there's more. Turn this so you can see it. Get some light on here. There we go. That'll do it.
Even though a car's got low miles, rubber still ages, and looks like our rubber vent hose going from the gas tank that's located by the driver's side footwell under the Jeep is showing its age. So I got a new hose, cut it to length, replaced the split one, clear the codes once again, and now, finally, the engine light's gone. For good.
Thing sounds so much better. Perfect.
The Jeep's now 100% mechanically sorted. An incredible feeling. But now, it's time to get the Jeep looking as good as it's running, especially since I've only washed it one time since it's gotten here, and we've done quite a bit to it, so it needs a good bath. But then my old friend shows up to shut down the show.
And now, it's starting to rain. I cannot freaking win.
Once it passes, we can finally start to scrub the dirty, dirty tires. We gotta clean up the white lettering quite a bit, since I had the tire shop put them facing out, while they were facing in before, which made them quite yucky, even though they've hardly got any miles on them. God, it's beautiful. It's so perfect. They definitely don't make SUVs like this anymore. And Dad, even though he broke his femur in half, still comes out to keep me company and give me a hand where he can, because he really can't give a leg, especially now. Okay, that was a bad joke, I'm sorry. We put on a couple coats of wax and polish, put on the spare tire that was also mounted on my refinished wheels, put on the new spare tire cover, and then, I can't believe I'm saying this, she's done.
Just like that, ladies and gentlemen, she's done. Look at her. It's absolutely perfect. She's gorgeous. I mean, just look at this thing. It's to imagine what it just was. I can't believe the way it came out. I mean, it's always what I had visioned, but this is just, it's perfect. So, I'd like to thank everyone for watching. This was my it felt like a big undertaking. In the realm of things, I guess it probably wasn't. There's something about taking on some massive project that you don't think you can handle and then doing it. It makes you feel pretty good. So thank you to everyone in the comments who helped along the way, to Steve and my dad for helping along the way. Everyone. There were so many people who helped make this possible. I couldn't do this without all of you guys watching and all of the people who helped me out along the way. That's for sure. So thank you guys very much for following along. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I at least was able to entertain you with my stupidity. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Happy motoring.